CGI. I
Mm-hmm.
started as a Sybase administrator, and slowly I moved towards this Postgres and MySQL, which is an open source DBA.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, since then, I'm currently supporting as an application where
Okay.
we are optimizing the queries, and then
Mm-hmm.
we've been given. Uh, yeah, we have the scenario which like when the query is long running or something, so how to optimize is if there are index error or something needed required.
Mm-hmm.
Based on the requirements, we do create indexers, or if we there was a migrated Oracle to Postgres database, so
Mm-hmm.
that converting the procedures as per the Postgres standards, and if they are big, cutting down them to support the queries or like tuning them as
Mm-hmm.
per the current requirements for the VPA code. This was something I'm doing, and then we have supported um, the systems on Linux, and then AWS Postgres, Azure as well.
Mm-hmm.
Azure flexible and single server, and AWS has been supporting with Aurora and RDS cluster environments,
Mm-hmm.
but cluster, and did this online migration, and then this using the DMS and schema conversion tool. There is this migrations around the upgrades I've done. In a brief, like I've been doing this activity, and whenever there is something, as I said, like any technical issues comes up, it's always new and different, and like checking the log, checking the different how what's error code and how to resolve it, tuning it as required. This is something I usually approach, and yeah,
Okay, so 9 plus experience as a database admin, right? So
yeah.
how much do you have experience as a Postgres DBA?
Postgres have been supporting 7.7 years, close to
Okay,
7 years.
okay. So how much rate yourself being a DBA out of 10, right?
So I rate like 7.5 to 8,
Mm-hmm.
because it's always like a few things does not comes all of a sudden in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Recently, I had some issue where we were doing this. We are creating the different index, like this a normal index. They needed this conversation like percentile and decimal type of thing
Mm-hmm.
that they need faster. So we propose the gin index in the Postgres. So now when we create gin index, there is a format like pgtrm is trgm is something that exempts exemption that has to be created, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is something that does not come up all of a sudden, but that is how we once we run a command, we get error, and then we go in deep, and then we resolve it. That is the approach I usually give.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. So you work on Linux administrator and cloud-based solution, right?
Yeah.
And performance tuning optimize. Okay, so we see later. So we can start from the installation part. So right. So you do installation in your environment, or we have you have automation team or DevOps team that taken care for the installation part.
Uh, now currently it's like from last very good time. I'm all doing in this Azure and AWS only, but Linux have been I did this Postgres and other installation very fast, but I don't know, like I know that like in Postgres installation, if we take it, we
Mm-hmm.
have the tar file that we DNF, and then we converted,
Mm-hmm.
and then we as we like we unzip it, and then we have init db there. So we run we execute that command init db, and then once it is done, we like uh, see, so uh, uh, like the Postgres version and the Postgres core, like if you're doing the 16, we give Postgres 16, and the path we give, and then that gets installed, and then we start the services. We have this Postgres conf file, and the pb the pg underscore hba conf file. There we enter the details, like the data path and other directories whatever we created in the Linux system. And
Oh.
after the systemctl, start Postgres, check the status, seeing at the back end, like is if any like what processes are running alongside, like um, the path we give, like for all the directories whatever. So like we have this data directory in the log. So if they are as we get that from mostly that from OS team, and they created as they wrote the address that we have to insert into the these files and the configuration is done. So yeah, and yeah.
Okay, so can you differentiate between this pgctl command and systemctl command?
System CTL is something like PGCTL is when we have the Postgres installed in the server, but system CTL is like it we as a little bit work with the Kubernetes as well, where we have the pods and something we do, and
Mm-hmm.
as well as it. So system CTL is purely a Linux based one, where it starts and executes the system with the root access, with the what do you say, it's like overall system based, but PGCTL does only concentrate and works only with the Postgres part, not entire.
Okay, so let's start right internal of Postgres. So can you explain that Postgres architecture?
Yeah, architecture we have, first one is the client, which is application layer API one, the
Mm-hmm.
thing we call, and then we have this connection part,
Mm-hmm.
where we mostly call the postmaster. It's like in and out application. A
Mm-hmm.
connection that comes from application to the database. In the middle, that can be any JDBC, or we most people use different other connect, net .NET, or any type of connection middle layer that is based on the application part, that does come to the database, and when it has a database like shared memory, where shared memory is like we have share wall buffer and everything there. So whenever a connection comes up to the Postgres, it does touches to this buffers first, and then if it is a read query, if it is recently executed or something, from there it goes off, and then we have this. Uh, uh, then we have the disk files, where is on the wall files disk. If there are wall logs, if you have enabled wall logs or replication, if there is something that writes in the wall logs, and then if you have the disk data is been written, that goes in the different path folder with the, and yeah, this is an overall architecture, the
Okay.
process goes.
So
Yeah.
after installation, what are the major configuration files in Postgres?
And then like postgres.cnf, pb underscore pg underscore hba dot conf is the two files that we are important for Postgres.
Mm-hmm.
Where, as I said, like the data directories and the user things informations like uh, uh, which path is where, and even the version. If the in Linux we might have Postgres 16, 14, something different directories, but this particular Postgres installation, which has to be routed or mounted to which one. From here it is, whatever we fill it here, it mounts to that point. Yeah.
Okay. And how do you change the parameter without restart in the Postgres?
Parameter, um, like this thing like mostly um, Azure one we have done, but on frame, I mean it will very long. I don't know, but
Mm-hmm.
yes, there are most of the parameters that are online parameters, that doesn't need uh, not that doesn't need a restart. If there is any parameter that is something like we have changed the entire. If you have allocated any, if you increase the wall buffer something, buffer, like if you have, it was 8 MB or 16 MB, if you have increased as per the local, if you have increased to 64 or something, then that is something has to be reflected. So such time a restart is required. And if there are online parameters like only for that session, like work mem is equal to something for that session, if you are doing, that does not require a restart. So yeah.
Okay. What is the difference between PG reload and restart?
Restart is something full restart, where the entire systems and all the processes does go down, and then we have this backend processes. If they are all on there, that gets all cut, and then the Postgres does only the Postgres process does start. And reload, I have see, I've not run the reload command, because it was a very long time that I need to commit it, because I know it, like it just only the online changes that whatever we have made, that does get reflected with the pgt load.
Okay. So let's have one scenario on the PG config, right? We have a new application, right? Along with that 5000 concurrent connections,
Yeah.
right? And we have a 128 GB of RAM and 32 core of processor. So what will be the parameter for max connections, shared buffer, work memory, maintenance memory, and checkpoint setting?
The connections is something like if we have this parallel connection mode on, then this 5000 is something we can divert it to one thing,
Mm-hmm.
and the other thing is like shared buffer, wall buffer, and then shared buffer is something we based on the like if we have like uh, the space I forgot like it is 250 or
Sorry, space not 250. That is 128 GB of RAM and 32 core
120.
of processor.
Yeah, based on the available the RAM space, we give it like we take 30% of that, and then there is a small formula like within 30%, this shared buffer is to be aligned, and then work mem is something like the all with all the total space of what the data disk and what all the database files have been used. That after removing that, or then after removing the shared file, if you whatever the free space we have in that we define this work name which we because work name is something we give for per transaction or per something, so that if there are thousands of transactions coming up, this will be replicated, so we try to keep it very minimum, as per the workload, not more. It might be 8 MB or 16 MB in this case when we have this 120 GB RAM. Yeah, and yes, this is something I configure.
What are the checkpoint setting?
Um, checkpoints um, is a connections is something. Uh, and where do we go? Yeah, IQ is not there. Yeah, noise. Like I know like when there are parameters that set, and then at the back end we have the checkpoint pointers running.
Okay.
Uh, where every transaction of the process is being running. This does whenever this point or this threshold has been reached, that is like alerted. So yeah,
Okay, so let's have one scenario. We have changed the parameter, right? And Postgres has failed to start. What will you do? How will you do the troubleshooting?
so first thing like uh, first 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 I would be checking the logs whatever, if it has stuck, and then if it is related to this parameter change of thing. Mostly with changing these values or parameters, the only thing is like if we accidentally increase the more size, the disk space might get full, or that is something. So we would be checking first DFA in case of checking that if there is enough space there, or wrongly, if any log file or some like as a wrong file, something has used very large size due to any parameters, is that I would be checking if there are something, and if it Postgres is not responding, we will check like in the log like what recently has been changing as we can find it, and we'll see if that is the actual cause, and we will do a quick restart. It's like like reload or restart, and then we will revert the changes. That would be the first point of approach. And as we go further, like if there are any other issues and there are based on the error code or error things we see. Uh,
Okay. Okay. So how we are doing monitoring in current organization?
we have like for like we have this for first of all we have this AWS CloudWatch is something we are using,
Mm-hmm.
and we also have the tool called Dynatrace tool which is connected to this AWS and Azure
Mm-hmm.
environments. There we get this alerting where where the agents are connected to these systems, and then we get all like DB issues and everything. Like if this is not, if the space has got full, if there are any long running queries, if there are any there are automated scripts written in the back end like to check all the scripts. So that gets run, and then we based on the alerts whatever we have, we check the logs and we go further. Like if it is due to something with the space, or if something with the match connections, or some or if there is a long running query, for the very long, like not getting executed or stuck. So that is something
Okay.
which,
And this is okay. Any extension enabled in your current organization on instance level?
sorry, I didn't get
PG
this.
extensions. Are any PG extensions enabled?
As a like PG extension is something this for this gain index, that one thing which I said TGRM
Mm-hmm.
is, and that is something I used during recently, and no, as of now, like we don't have any that extension that thing, because the very, it's like good or bad, not good thing is like when the databases are being managed, like on the AWS and this modernized standards, most of the things are being utilized there. But based on any user requirements only, we do and make the changes. Yeah,
Okay. So let's
there are
have
some.
one scenario, right? Your manager asking, can you fetch the total number of active and ideal connections from one prod environment? Can you write a statement for the same?
um, Statement like um, we have this like um,
Mm-hmm.
easy start activities where we get them all the current active connections there. So it would be like select select start from PG start activities, like select found start from PG start activities where all the active connections will come up.
I'm writing in the chat. We require two columns and two rows. You can see that one. So you understand the question, right?
Yeah, you need like what
Total number of active or total number of ideal connections in one go.
actually I usually take help of some cheats I have, but I know like we with the busy state activities from the active connections, and then we have this
Yes, that
block
is
block
right, but it's
block.
a simple one,
block-
right?
Yeah, it should be like,
Right. So how do you do monitoring of bloat?
blocked ID.
No, bloat, not block ID. Bloat. Do you know what is bloating?
Bloat, yes.
Yep.
When two connections are trying to insert or some doing something, and it such multiple connection trying to do some the same activity update, then bloating occurs where this does not allow any other connections to that particular table, or such scenarios is referred as bloating, where no other activities are performed. Yeah.
Okay, and how do you do monitoring of replication lag?
Like PG rep. Mm, Status, like we have the PG replication online command. Sorry, I don't actually remember. Sorry,
Okay,
because
no, it's okay, not an issue. So
yeah,
you work
it's
on
like
performance tuning, right?
I didn't get, sorry.
You work on performance tuning as well, right?
Yeah, performance. Yeah.
Okay, let's have a scenario. Our query suddenly increase from 2 second to 20 minutes, or maybe in milliseconds is running, but it is taking more than 5 minutes, right? How would you troubleshoot this?
Yeah. First of all, I would be like, if whatever the query it is, we will do an explain, analyze
Mm-hmm.
the query, and based on that, like we will get all like if, where exactly this is, the actual time is being taken in the
Mm-hmm.
particular column or particular table, wherever it is actually fetching. That is one thing, and at an overall view. And on the other hand, like if we say that like there is an recent any upgrade or something happened, or if any bulk activities has happened
Mm-hmm.
recently or a day before or some time,
Mm-hmm.
before this query has been done, so that sometimes large in delays that might have happened when there is no proper vacuum has been done, the statistics or something at the backend is not updated, so this query will take some time. That is one primary thing I would be checking, like what has happened. And upon like if this is actually a regularly running query or new query, if the query has been operated with any new columns or parameter, is it trying to fetch new things inside that? So if the application has embedded something in that, so based on that, if there are any, as I said, like any indexes or something is required, we would take up that call, or like we usually go like if there is this is a very large step or something. It's like thumb line rule as it will be like we recreating indexes of the every major activity or something is deferred. So if this that is done or not, that I would be touching. And if the issue persists, we will go with other options like to create if there are multiple search items in that, like select items in that query.
Mm-hmm.
So ask them to create a mutualized view for that, or if the if there is a requirement for any different indexes to be created, not affecting the other right operation. mm, Looking at that certain point, if that columns or table does a proper indexing, that I would be checking two things or something. And then uh, checking this maintenance thing like vacuum and yeah, this thing I would be primarily doing as an. And apart from that, if there are any triggers or something that are connected to this query, if they are properly, if we'll check that if that is being run, or if that has to be tuned, something we'll see on that.
Okay, so can you explain between hash or nested join?
As in, uh, 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 I'm not good with this
Okay, and
because
you told about the
I
indexes, right?
have
Mm-hmm.
seen no, whenever any complex queries that has been queries that I get, it's mostly as a DBA, we get most of the queries from the client and application. So that once they give it, I we will see the query. We'll try to tune it. Like if there is something to be done with the query, by looking at like if columns or some that I would be doing. But writing is something that will,
Okay, so you are saying that in
what
that
that
previous answer, right? Indexes. So what are the
and
different type of indexes in Postgres?
indexes like in Postgres we have this normal is B-tree index. One B-tree index is there, which is following on, and then we have GIN index with GIN index where this partial searching is referred, and yeah, this two. There is one
Okay, so
more.
can you differentiate between brain index and B-tree index?
If like B-tree index is normal index, as we said. Like if we want to create index, and index is something we go easily. That is like it covers all the if I want to search a name with my name, that all goes. If I have any dot decimals or person or any this of like if the query is most probably with the suffix, like if this is an hospital, we only do HOs and research and such type of things. If there are even the name, if there are decimals or something, numeric values are allowed in return. To for such type of columns, we use the gene index like TGRM and then name again underscore the column and then PGTRM the gain. So
Okay.
that how is one question.
So another scenario based question, right? We have one history table, right? Account or customer history. Let's say customer history table, right?
Yeah.
So customer history table, we are doing 80% insert or write, basically, right? And 20% we are reading a data. But while reading the data, we are taking more time, right? So we have a column name, account, first name, and then PAN number and last transactions. So which index you create on that?
See, first of all, like if the query is taking longer time during retrieval, the major the very first thing is like the primary thing will be the PAN number is something because it is always unique and it is the primary thing. If it is primary first column in the query and it starts searching with that because another account another thing or something, that might be same for all and that might be like partially different, but it will be mostly if there are 100 records, maximum records will have the replicate one there.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have one index with the pan because as it is like a serial number of kind of thing. So with the search it will go faster, and we'll go with that approach easily.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you identify unused index in Postgres?
Unused index is like we like as a maintenance job. This is something we go with the tables. We multiple. If we have not all is something we go deep, but if there is a large table that is being very we like we check select like get the list of the indexes there. From that list of the indexes, we see what are the regular queries that are coming to that particular table. And so like if this is during with respect to the pan, with respect to the some serial number, with respect to the so many things. Based on that column, we see like which uh, um, as we get list of select queries that comes up from. This is what I have to like select queries that comes and connect to the database. So we'll see that if this column is not being referred or something with the index, then we'll mark it as unused.
Okay. So little bit about this transaction. So can you explain what is MBCC in Postgres?
Uh, oh, sorry.
MBCC in Postgres, right?
This is I quickly heard, but not actually remembering it. Sorry.
Okay. So what are different type of lock type supported by Postgres?
Um, Logs like it we
Not log,
uh,
lock. LOCK.
log
Yep.
log like we have this we don't have this table level log at the Postgres level because Postgres has MVCC. Okay, you're telling MVCC
No, no,
multi
that is different one question, right?
column.
Now this is a lock, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yes, hope you
MVC.
understand,
So
right?
this
Because we have a time constraint, right? We have to just cover in that all.
no, so this the same concept like
Mm.
as Postgres allows multiple users to fetch and insert or delete the data from the table level. So we have
Mm-hmm.
this role locking there. This is particularly for that row, but during insert and delete, and when the transaction is over, that gets reflected. So yeah, and if there is something in the query, if they want specifically doing, but the query Postgres does not allow that. We have row level logging here in the Postgres that the user and if we have the specific right on the entire table, that is something we give differently. The user access like like we have read and write replicas, write replic there all the writes happens in the logs are only one.
Okay, so how do you investigate blocking sessions?
Blocking section is with this blocked ID. Select PG so blocked ID where we see, and then we find out like if this query is how long this is query running, and if this is due to two or three queries connected to the same table, or we'll see what happens here based on the view like uh, if they are from the same connections or if they are from the different connections and editing the same table, and if it is the data portion is large, if this is insert or update, select is something different, but if this due to any insert and update that might be running at the back end, and then other select queries are running at the front end. Such issues we'll see, and if select is there, we'll ask them to wait, or we'll ask them to kill that particular ID until this insert is done, or we'll ask them to refresh their connections and reinsert the data.
Okay,
That should be the approach.
so which command you use to kill the session, blocking session, or
Uh,
PID?
from Linux, I know like the kill. We have the backend ID, that is backend process that is running. So kill -9 and then the whatever ID it is.
From the
Kill
select statement
uh, select statement. Uh,
means from the
so
PGSQL, right? How can you kill the session or block ID?
PGSQL terminate or I don't remember the terminate or some command is there. PG. Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry.
so you have got a chance to work on backup and recovery.
Yeah, backup and recovery. I got like during the this thing I've got learned very fast about backup and recovery. Yes, where we have this PG term all we've used. I said like as did this Azure upgradation. So we used to take that Postgres, the full PG dump all, and then we take the packet to the .SQL file and we save it there in the Linux, and we create a new Azure flexible instance entirely. We take the IP address and the hostname from there, and then connect again the PSQL, then hostname, username, giving the master password, whatever from the secrets, and then the PSQL, the code like that is hostname and the password, and reverse arrow the .SQL file.
Okay, so
So
can you differentiate between logical and physical backup in Postgres?
physical backup is the full backup that we take. It's entire backup that is taken for that particular database. Logical backup is like if I want only some particular tables, or if you want some particular individual thing that has to be taken as a backup. Only the DDL we that command in PSQL we have like we have table minus table name, and then we only take the table. So there that's logical backup. The difference simply.
Okay, so let's one scenario here. Management is asking we need to recover one database till 12:35, right?
Yeah.
So how do you perform this recovery?
So dual is like whatever was the full backup. If most probably if there is a full backup at 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. whatever time it is, we will see whatever like if it may be 1 hour or 2 hours or 9 hours. The
Mm-hmm.
what the time the full backups happen, we'll take the full backup there, and then we will load it into the database, and then after that we will check if the till this 12:35, if
Mm-hmm.
till 12:34 or 33 or within 1 or 2 minutes of lagging, what log file val logs has been created. So so that log files will apply here, and with that replica like will restore it like during the full backup and this val file. Yes, and if there are also like if there are any differential backups enabled at the backend, like not full backup but only that wall log files, or if they are created and for it's like when it is whenever this portion is full it will get backed up, so we'll check that. So this is how the approach goes.
Okay, have you got chance to work on replication and high abilities in Postgres?
um, uh, it's like I've done this on Azure and this Azure, not AWS only, no. On Linux part, it's been during my starting phase. I
Mm-hmm.
was monitoring. I don't, like we have this replication setup, the replication and standby setup, where we used to like uh, uh, we create this replication user here, and then for using that replication user, that kind of we load it there, like with that user, the replica like a standby server start taking these connections whatever timeout we give. So I know not clearly I can remember, but if I get once, if I see once, no, I will be good in that.
Okay,
Uh,
so let's have one scenario, right? Database suddenly went offline. How do
yeah.
you troubleshoot it?
Um, so suddenly when offline would be first thing. First thing would be like we'll check if it is an offline tested Linux database. We'll see if TFFNK, if there is any slash directory file or slash like a data file, data directory, or um, Postgres related file systems if they are got full. If they are not full, then we'll go into the log file, and then we'll check the log file. We'll see if we say like if there is any, we'll trace the uh, recent transactions, or we'll see if we due to so many temp full like uh, that would be like scenario based, like first of all space and then checking the logs, and then we'll see how what transaction has happened, or uh, if this uh, log folder is not archived properly and it does not have enough space to write. um, we'll see.
Okay, you work on RDS, right?
RDS.
AWS RDS. Okay, so can you differentiate between RDS and Aurora DB?
RDS is simple. It's like the one node standard instance database where we have one step. But Aurora is like we, if you create any Postgres or a MySQL, whatever database we create in the MySQL Aurora cluster,
Mm-hmm.
it would have one read and write replica. That's as an stand primary and standby, right on the reader nodes.
Okay, can you help me to understand Aurora storage architecture?
Aurora storage actors first of all, whatever it's like Aurora cluster, and then we have inside the reader and writer, and then the entire storage, the backup is scheduled at the cluster level, which takes the entire this one. So and the space is also allocated at the cluster level if it is in the same VPC node. Yeah.
Okay,
So yeah. So whenever if you're creating, we give like 500 GB or 100 GB, whatever, we give the cluster level, not the reader or writer images.
okay. Could you please explain performance insight in RDS?
Performance insight is very first configuration page we see at the right. So if that is on, we have, if as like if this is in blocked IDs, or if we have long running queries, or if we have different items that are being running, and if there is issue that comes up with it, if we have this performance insight enabled, all this get recorded in the logs, and we can go and check in the logs that okay, by one this what has happened. But if most of the time the dev regions that does not have this performance insight enabled, then we cannot record that.
Okay, nice. So for RDS, right? Let's have one scenario on RDS, right? RDS instance CPU utilization 90%, right? A spike, right? During
Yeah,
the business hour, let's say 9:30 to 2:30, right? So
yeah.
what will you do then?
So first one, if this is a production server, then we'll possibly get the access storage approval from however approvals I get, and then we'll try to do this auto scaling part there.
No, no, this is
Uh,
CPU utilization, not storage. CPU utilization, 90% CPU utilization. This is a spike of
yeah,
CPU, right?
yes. Okay, so if this is spike in CPU, then with during the business time, I would particularly go and check like how many queries or how many max connections are being happening there.
Mm-hmm.
We'll check that. We'll see if there are sometimes like if during continuous connections this will fail. So in RDS we have this option of like spike time, we can parallelize, like uh, we can tune the connections to thousand like different manner. So we'll try that approach, or else we'll check the like we'll see like if that particular query whichever being run regularly, that can be a little delayed or earlier, or if this is due to many heavy updates that they are doing during the business hours, and we'll recommend the application team that this would be something, a scenario kind of thing if the issues goes up. So
Okay.
yeah, that would be a first point of approach for me for spikes and CPU. Other thing would be like the same like um, limiting the connections by any means,
Okay.
or giving this writer, like we have one approach here, like the reader select queries whatever we have that are being routed to the reader instance, not the writer instance, so that the writer part will not get affected and the reader will have whatever they have there. And as the lag time is realized in the database, then we don't see any select queries being delayed or getting very lag data. So that
Okay.
approach is.
So you also work on migration part, right? As you said, right?
Sorry.
Migration part.
Yeah, migration. Yes.
Okay, so can you explain that AWS DSM, sorry, DMS?
Yeah. Data migration, database migration service is something in AWS which is good. I did this one recently for one. There was an activity where Oracle to push this we had, so that was quite different part. But um, what we did is like we take the Oracle instance and then we created a replication there. Once you click on the DMS, you get that option like replication setup and then source setup and the target setup. So source endpoint setup and target endpoint setup. So replication setup is at the right. We create an sample database or minimum database of Oracle we created with some 200 or 250 GB, so that whatever is happening in that Oracle offline on-prem instance, the same replication starts. The replication logs just, and if you say that can be applied for Postgres, where all logs will be getting replicated here. That is one thing. And then during off peak or something, we take a full backup there, and then that backup is loaded into the we enable the source target and end target, and then um, target endpoint and the source endpoint. Source endpoint we fill up all the details like how to the local host, IP, port, and everything, and then we test the connections. And the target endpoint we as it is an already in the AWS, we take the endpoint name and the password from the keys. We take the password from the keyword. Secrets, we take the password and fill it, and the connections happen as the replication is happening there, and then we load the full backup here. And this is something the process. And as it's like it's from the Postgres on this one, we take the help of schema conversion to SAP. And if it is some Postgres to Postgres, this DMS will do all the work. And the lagging part is like we'll check in the offline database if what is the current log file number, and then here we check what is the current log file. If the latency and the log is zero, then we'll switch the connections back to the new instance, and we'll do our activity. And once the application team user is satisfied with this connectivity speed, all kind of things, when he is iterating and deleting in the activity, we'll we'll mark this is permanent, and we'll decommission that older one after a week or 21 days as per standards.
Okay, so can you differentiate between online and offline migration?
Online of the one which I currently explained is fully online, which is like we're taking online application, and it's like online activity where the latency and the lag is very less, and there is no application downtime. And even if it is there, that would be like switching the application, which might be 5 to 10 minutes of lagging. That is all. Not even much, but we give that credential to the application team. They have to configure the new connection files here. That is little. That is online, and offline is something we take full backup there. We take a downtime of 2 hours, 3 hours, based on the database size. That is something.
Okay, and can you differentiate between pre-migration and post-migration checklist?
Can I take 1 minute? My laptop is there.
Okay, 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 not an issue. Yeah. You can
One
take.
second.
Yep,
This
yep,
is
yep.
how to get down it. We'll be back in 1 minute,
Okay,
please.
okay, not an issue. Yeah.
Coming back to the question, so checklist for uh, pre and post migration is like first pre migration checklist would be like we'll check all the current database count, um, um, like what are the databases we have.
Hmm.
If there's a single database is in that, then the list of tables, and then the count of the tables, rows in the table. That is something we check.
Hmm.
And with that we see we have one pretty underscore something that we command there. So we check the size of the database there. So if it is an offline one, we map the size. The size should be same. And yes, and is something in the basic thing that we do. And apart from that, whatever the background things, whichever we have, right, like as we started in the shared memory, or wall workman, whatever is defined, we'll take all that on the current thing, and then we'll try to have the same. If it is an AWS one or something, if there is an good CPUs and something, we try to increase it as per the new standards, and we also check that what are the auto vacuum vacuum part and other is whatever parameters have been enabled. We'll see, and that is something we'll map it to the new one, and the same thing will be checked at the thing, and application connections, if the connections are happening well, if there are multiple, we'll ask them to have the multiple connections, and at the same time multiple insert deletes, so that this DB is supporting them or not. That is something checks we will see.
Okay, one more scenario based question, right? We have a 30 terabyte of Postgres instance, right?
Okay.
Or we have to migrate this with that 15 minutes of downtime. So, what will be your approach?
Approach would be this, the same, Postgres to Postgres. 15 minutes of downtime is very easily, because the recent I've not done with this actually, but I have tested it, and I know this with this source Oracle one. I got a little bit of experience. Like, we can use this DMS service if it is an AWS. Same the replication setup, and then DMS source target setup. We can do the full backup, and then we load it, and then this, as the replication is happening there, we will see like if all the val files are being there, and once that same count happens and same count is here, like, so that would, and then we'll also check like if by creating a sample user or sample connections, say, by inserting in a sample recording between one or two few tables, and we'll see if that replication is happening in the AWS connections as well. So if that is quite good and within seconds, then we will take the downtime and we'll ask them to switch the connections to the newer nodes, newer endpoints.
Okay. And do you have any experience in automation part? DB task automations?
Scripts like, um, not much that I have used a CI/CD pipelines, that like using the new, like other reference scripts. I have used it in GitHub to load, to give it to the pull request, and then from there the automation batch jobs that runs. So that have been like, um, as far as a DBA, like most of the times we get this for the automation, like regularly checking if auto vacuum is run or not, to reindex or
No,
to,
if let's being you are DBA manager, right? And you're
yeah.
asking your team, can you share me that database health report? So, what are the parameters you ask?
um, and report parameters, like if we, um, uh, automation script can be written, and even in AWS we have that one where we submit all, we have a report kind of thing where we can check the parameters, and if you give that email ID, that will, from the CloudWatch, that will be routed to our email, stating all the backup, if most of probably backup or DB health, and it goes like DB is active or not, online or not. So,
Mm-hmm.
and yes.
Okay, and some troubleshooting, right? I think I have not touched your, yeah. So let's have one scenario, right, for troubleshooting, right?
Yeah.
Application team is sending you an email, right, saying that they are getting an error like canceling a statement due to the statement timeout. Then what will you do?
uh, it might be like if, most probably due to the internal, or I will say this, middle connections only,
Mm-hmm.
because if there is something that comes to the database that gives an error,
Mm-hmm.
and that would be possibly a DB error, and the timeout issue will be like, if that application team has set an something at their end that this connection should go and touch the DB within 30 seconds or some 300 seconds, is whatever usually they do. Such type of things, if that is something from there, we'll ask them to verify that, and if, and then, and even in the ideal connections, And if it is one time scenario, we'll see the DB. Was it there something, any offline activity, like if you see that if there is an offline backup or something running and if that logs the table, connections will not happen. So such scenario is one thing. If it is not due to then we'll investigate with that particular query that if it is uh, query part, that would be the first part of it. Like if, and even if you have that during that time, if you have any full vacuum full, like most probably in during weekend or something, this vacuum full is scheduled so that reorganize and this such type during such time, for a shorter period of time, this will be having the logs happens with the table of whenever it is touching that particular.
Okay.
So if this, we will ask them to change the query timing to hit the DB.
Okay, let's on one more scenario, right? This is critical database, production database, right? And it is suddenly down, right?
Okay.
And it is very this is revenue loss, right? So what will you do in first 30 minutes, being a database lead or manager or DBA, right? What will you do in first 30 minutes?
So we'll as a DBA and as to report, like we'll record this incident, or if we go in a formal approach, that will be like if you have, if I'm alone or if you have anyone with me, we'll first try to segregate the work. We'll ask them. We'll check. We'll go into the database. We'll check the logs. That is one right side of the thing that would be happening as a DBA, checking the log, checking the file space, checking if it is in AWS or something. If there is a configuration part as mentioned, we'll also check if the application side. Uh, uh, these connections, like if there is any heavy thing happened, heavy incident happened, or sometimes this happens, like the backend mount points does get disabled due to any recent OS patching, or if netbacking team is doing at the backend.
Mm-hmm.
So they will be seeing the left side of right side of the part always, and the right side we will log an incident. We'll take them, like during, if you are going to have the root cause, I cannot go in directly, like run the restart or the start command. We have to get a formal approval from the manager and the client team, and then as the incident management protocol or something, we say logging the report, logging the incident, and then saying that this has been happened, this has been, we have been seeing this approach, and if you give a simple restart, uh, this can resolve the issue, and the DB might come up. So we'll take that approvals and we'll do that. If there is something like um, required to involve any other storage team and the OS team, and we'll go with the call only, and we'll route this incident to them, and then first first probably connecting, checking the database, and parallelly connecting to the multiple sources of the teams who are related to that particular database will be the first primary approach.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think leave it, yeah. So I think I've done from my side. Do you have any question?
Um, I